Hi folks. So what I'd like to talk about today is Mudita, this Brahma Viharas, divine abodes quality, where actually we encounter the joy and happiness and delight of another being, another person, another creature, and we delight in that quality as well. And this is, I don't know, just like delighting in simple pleasure, but also delighting in skillfulness. So not just happiness, but also the causes of happiness. Although I must say, what I really love about Mudita is, like, I don't know, unless I complicate it, it just feels really, really simple. Sometimes if I'm trying to practice metta, the metta bhavana, I'm feeling a bit dry and it's like I don't really know, it's not happening. I just start going really simple and bringing the person to mind and thinking, well, may they really enjoy their breakfast. Whatever they're eating, may they really enjoy their bran flakes. And that seems to sort of like warm me up, where it's the sort of thing where it's like, I know what it's like to enjoy my breakfast, that really sort of simple level of pleasure. And actually, like, I'm wishing it for them. If it's sunny, may they enjoy the sunshine. Yeah, so, it's just so... Oh, going two ways at once. You can't go two ways at once. It's something about being able to enjoy my pleasure and delight in the world, but then not letting that limit me, then also being able to open and, how many more sources of pleasure if I'm able to open to other creatures, other beings, delight and joy in the world. And like, how marvellous is that? And the two ways I was just trying to go in is, for some reason I just started thinking of Mamaki. Now she's the prajna, the female wisdom archetypal Buddha form, and she's like the consort, the counterpart of Ratnavandana, this jewel-born, golden Buddha of the south of fruitfulness. And going back to Mamaki, her name means mine maker, and it's like all the joy in the world becomes hers. It's not like she's limited to just things that she enjoys, her own bran flakes. She can enjoy everyone's joy. And, well, just how lovely is that? So where am I going next? So I want to talk about, I suppose more about what I love about it. And then I'll talk a bit about, like, well, what blocks me from this? What happens when I don't do that? Well, actually, we've got this cultural practice that has started at the moment called clapping for the NHS on a Thursday evening. And this is just such a gorgeous practice of rejoicing in merit. And I just love the way it sort of comes spontaneously out of this situation. Nobody sort of sat down and said, well, what we need is a practice of rejoicing in merit. It's like it was naturally coming out of people's experience of gratitude and wanting to rejoice in people who are putting themselves at risk to try to deal with the situation. And also all those other key workers. We've got our postie ever since I've been at Taraloka 10 years has been Diane, and she's still bringing us the mail. How fantastic. All those people who, they don't have romantic, heroic jobs. They're carers. They're going into people's homes to make sure that they're still safe and well. For some reason that seems to touch me quite a lot. So there's this gorgeous practice of rejoicing in merit, which is sort of, I think to me it feels accessible at every moment. Every moment there's something that I could bring to mind where I could rejoice in an act of generosity I've heard about or seen, an act of care that I've heard about or seen myself. And I think there's something else about mudita where it's like, how can I use my pleasure and delight to open myself out? So I think one of the things that blocks me most, maybe particularly at the moment when it's just very, very obvious that there's a lot of difficulty and suffering going on in the world, it's a sense of guilt. It's a sense of feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be enjoying pleasure and happiness, because somehow if I do, that means that I am being heartless and uncaring, and I'm ignoring painfulness, difficulty, people having a hard time. As though it's like sort of, if I experience happiness, then it means somehow they cancel out. Like if you're saying that suffering exists, you can't say that joy exists. And if you say that joy exists, it means you're ignoring the suffering. But actually, there's something that's very, very important about being able to let in our own pleasure and our own delight. And if we're not able to do that, if we're not able to enjoy our own pleasure and delight for, reasons of guilt or whatever other reason, actually we're not really able to open to let in other people's. On just quite a simple level, like pleasure and joy, like it makes our mind flexible, it makes our mind malleable, and sort of able to be with then the more difficult experiences of life. Bhante talks quite a lot in the Yogi's Joy about the importance of pleasure. So I suppose what I'm trying to bring out is like the importance of allowing our own contentment, happiness and joy as an essential foundation for being able to open up to others' pleasure, happiness and joy. So I feel like nature is a really kind of good, it's just such a simple and, even if you're in a city, ever-present example. I mean, there's always the sky, no matter, where you are. If you can get to a window, you can look out, there's the sky. But here, so you'll notice that I'm sat in this incredible field of dandelions. So I'm seated just outside the Taraloka Shrine Room, just outside the Earth Sky Garden, and I'm seated in this field that when we're sitting in the Shrine Room we look out onto. So this is the Llangollen Canal just behind me here. And I must say this field has been giving me a huge amount of pleasure and joy over the last few days. You've got these amazing dandelions and they're all kind of coming up and they're going whoosh, and they're so, and it's sort of like, there's something about like I can let that level of pleasure happen. And why not? If one being is happy and contented, well, that's one being less that's unhappy. But then I can also turn it round and think, oh, and how is it from the dandelion's point of view? What's it like to be a dandelion at the moment? And I mean, I don't know. I'm never likely to be a dandelion. I wouldn't know. But how I imagine the dandelions are feeling, they're feeling like it's spring, it's sunshine, it's warmth, there's air I can breathe, there's moisture coming into my roots. I can do my thing, I can blossom, I can open to the sky. And so do you see what I mean? It's sort of like there's my pleasure in the dandelions, which could remain quite narrow and me-based. Like, I want the dandelions, and when the farmer comes and puts his cows in the field, I could be annoyed because my dandelions are being eaten. But there's another way, which is like turning it round and kind of going, oh, and how is it for the dandelion? And then when the cows come, well, how is it for the cow being out in the fields after the winter in the barn, enjoying eating the dandelions? Yeah. Okay, this is me looking at my notes to see if there's something else I'm supposed to say. No. Yes. Just one more thing which is sort of like the dandelions, which is I think it's just really worth bearing in mind that there's a lot of people suffering in this coronavirus pandemic, but actually some people, the changing of conditions has really changed their conditions and they're really enjoying it. So it's like some people, they've been furloughed, they don't particularly enjoy their jobs and they're having a fantastic time at home enjoying their gardens. In a way at Taraloka there are difficulties, but it's also giving us a real chance to sort of like bond as a community. And I know my brother and my sister-in-law in Edinburgh, so they're looking after their 2 kids in a very small Edinburgh flat. And there's something about that is quite difficult. The kids are very energetic, they're both under 5 and, the flat is not that large. And yet at the same time, they're just able to be spending a lot of family time together. And there's joy in that. So can we hold the joy? Can we focus on the joy? Can we allow in the joy? And it doesn't have to cancel things out. The suffering can be there, the joy can be there, which will nicely lead us on to tomorrow on Apeka and equanimity. Okay, enjoy your sky, enjoy whatever your dandelions look like.